Yeah. Numbers are hard this morning. Very tired.
Hello, good morning.
I'm John Council.
John, good morning, Chef. How are you?
Good morning.
Interesting. Thank you for being part of our panel this morning.
Yes, absolutely.
How are you doing?
Good.
How you doing, Isaac?
Hi, John Council.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Isaac and I were just going over kind of what we've got going on today, and he was kind of filling me in.
Hi, how you doing?
On his background. Good. Douglas, thank you for being part of this. Oh, imagine that. I'm having one of those days. We're gonna have a room full of inquisitive people needing to find out how are we to hire their first round of employees. We have a big group of, our group is going to be between the conceptual stage and looking at hiring their first round of employees. We're going to find very few group members in here that are looking at mass hiring or hiring any kind of quantity right now. So there were probably going to be a lot of questions. How do we know when to hire? How do we know when our efficiencies are done? I believe at this time, Mr. Dunbo and Chef, that you and Mr. Collins are going to be our two presenters. We have about an hour and 10 minutes of content to fill. And I will warn you that this group is quite inquisitive and asks a lot of really good thought out questions. So everyone that is a part of this is, again, really between the filling out and the development, getting really started or brick and mortar stage. So it should be good. And I appreciate your gentlemen's participation today, because as we know, not everyone in the business world is willing to share their experience, because experience gives you leverage to better your business, and that creates competition, and not everyone wants competition, but we're under the belief that we need better communities and we need to help each other out. So thank you again for being part of this.
I think two things could be true. I don't want competition, but I also do want to get back and help. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I would want competition, and you're not confident in yourself.
I don't know, afraid is the right word, but it sure makes it easier.
I shouldn't be hecking the presenter before.
No, you're good. That's good energy to have. We want a lot of great questions, and if you have a different point of view and that kind of stuff, it's good to push it back. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you there. I think inherently competition, as we know, is a great thing, because what's bad is having any version of a monopoly. I would say, even because I also do business like coaching and consulting, and one of the modules in our program is about your competition. Like, how do you find your competitive advantage and the differences, like between what you do, what my competitors do, and how you can draw the difference, all that, how you can also to get inspiration from them as well. So yeah, I'm
a farmer and a meat person, so I'm at a farmer's market. So my competition is like right beside me, and so it's, my competition is always right there.
Yeah.
I grow great tomatoes, but so do 3 other vendors.
Yeah, but to challenge you though on that, if you're the only one at the farmer's market versus having 8 more people there, you'd sell more if you're the only one.
No, you know what? The days that there are fewer vendors, fewer people show up. There's an energy at the market that more vendors bring more people and they'll buy. It's a weird anomaly. So if there's only one, if I'm the only tomato vendor there, I will sell less tomatoes than if there's multiple vendors there. It is weird, but so it's like the more competition, the more people actually will buy. And I mean, of course, I go to a nice little market that, like, I have one vendor that if his tomatoes are bad, I'll say, go buy hers, because hers look better today than mine, but
yeah,
it's a different
I agree with you.
It's not brick and mortar, so it's a little different.
Yeah, my wife and I, we went out, it was like end of season. It was like October, like farmers market season.
Yeah.
It was like late October, it was almost Halloween time. And we went to a local Kansas City suburb farmers market. And there was like 8 different stalls there. And obviously we just walked down the road and we were kind of just done with it. And so to your point, I agree. Then we went about 20 minutes to one of the biggest ones in Kansas City, the downtown Overland Park one. And then we ended up being there for like 3 hours looking around. So I agree with you with that one. That's it. Yeah, good stuff for both of them though.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Hello, to day two of the Food Business Conference. Hopefully this will become, we're in our second annual, hopefully this will become an annual thing. We're sure gaining some momentum. Thank you for being here and participating in the How to Hire and Retain Employees class this morning. Some housekeeping things: if you need to use the restroom, please get up and excuse yourself. The restroom is down the hall to the left. As always, we would encourage everyone to fill out a review of our program today. In your folders, you can find a link to those reviews, or you can grab a physical copy from the back. This morning, folks, we're going to be talking about one of the most challenging. Oh, good morning, Chef. Hey, how are you? I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
Good to see you. How was your honeymoon?
Oh, it was awesome. It was fantastic.
Everyone, Chef Christopher just got back from his honeymoon.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're just getting going. We've got a panel on how to hire and retain staff members.
Yeah, I'm Chris.
Jeff Dutzel.
Hey, nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you. Isaac Collins.
Hey, so we're going to do some quick introductions today. To help us with this interesting and very timely topic today, we've invited Chef Christopher from Chef KC. We've also invited Chef Jeff Dunsel, and we've also invited Isaac Collins. I will give each of you folks just a moment to talk about yourself, starting with you, Mr. Collins.
Sure. So Isaac Lee Collins, glad to be here. Been an entrepreneur for, going on 12-ish years, but been in food and beverage for 15 plus. I have an interesting story, I guess, to make it super short, because I want to hear these guys' stories and to hear you guys' questions. I got started right out of college, 23 years old, having no clue what I was doing. But I got my start with the Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory, owning my own business there. Did that for 4 years and used some of the profits for that business to come here to Kansas City to start Yogurtini, frozen yogurt. So I've been doing that for 8 years, my wife and I, and we now own 3 locations here across the Kansas City metro, and I've loved those businesses and they're super fun. But my food start was at Olive Garden, managing one of those for 4.5 years in St. Joe. And man, I love my businesses, but the Olive Garden experience was so fun and fast paced and everything. And it really set me up for success with learning the back of the house, the front of the house and whatnot, to get into my own stores. So that's my short little journey.
You were right. Those corporate restaurants do have well thought out organizations to help us get started in food and beverage.
It really helped me with the systemization on how to take that piece, because obviously they've perfected it and everyone has their own thoughts in corporate restaurants. But the thing that I extracted was how meticulous they are at the systemization, how they do every single thing and how it's the same for every single restaurant, which has helped me be able to add more locations because it's about the systemization, the delegation, et cetera. So.
And you bring up a good point. I'm not trying to hijack the conversation. This may come up later, but those systems and organizations not only help in retaining staff members, easy to train. So thank you very much. Next, we have Chef Dunsel.
Yes, good morning. I'm Jeff Dutzel. I own Dutzel's Catering, started in 2009. It was part-time all through until 2019. I was an educator, taught business marketing, then I was a school principal, left education in 2019 to do catering full-time. And so I've grown to 6 full-time staff, about 25 part-time staff. Just like he said, I started at, in Hy-Vee, and then Applebee's also. So working, through high school and college, before I even knew I was going to launch my own business, working, for corporations. And he's absolutely right. You learn the corporate way and how to have systems for everything and operation procedures. But that's a little bit about us.
Chef Christopher.
My name is Chris Zimbrewski. I'm chef owner of Chef Kansas City. Let's see. I started my business about 7 years ago out of the garage of my house. Bootstrapped it with $500 and started as a private chef service and has kind of evolved since then. Now we're full on catering, weekly meal prep. We do private dinner parties and events and things like that. But My experience, I've always cooked since I was 15, went to culinary school at the Art Institute of Phoenix. Worked in Phoenix and kind of really got my, feet on the ground and started running kitchens and things like that. That led me to San Francisco, which kind of got me into like much bigger picture and seeing like we would do film and photo shoots and things like that. Kind of brought that idea back to Kansas City about 8 years ago. And yeah, started it and we've just kind of been growing since. So
Wonderful. So it sounds like we have three very diverse backgrounds here and different stories on how we got started in our food service businesses. And each of these things, I think, all have some common grounds. It sounds like a lot of them were very grassroots orientated, very similar to a lot of the stories I'm hearing from our groups here. So that leads me to ask the question, and we'll get started on with you, sir. How did you know to hire your first employee, and what was that like for you?
That's good. Can I hijack it really quick?
Of course, that's what.
Can we know the businesses that
Yeah.
people, I'd love to know kind of like,
If you folks would anybody feel comfortable sharing their food story or what you would looking at? It may help us
not
identify.
just like, obviously, food that you're doing or industry or whatever it is,
Sure.
if you don't, obviously, no pressure.
Sure, if you would like to get started right here, if you care.
Liège waffles, savory and sweet. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they are from Belgium. So it's a whole many different toppings, but the base is the Liège waffle. It's a bread-based dough with infused sugar.
I need that in my life, that sounds wonderful. Almost every single morning.
It's standing lines when the shop opens on the east, and so
Yeah, it's weird.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
I'm from the Vanavas. I have a small farm called Bosco Blooms and I'm kind of a weird, I grew up in farming in Northern California, left to become a chef. Most of my life was, so I kind of mixed those two together. Now I'm back with a farm and going to incorporate some food stuff into it. So my life's kind of come full circle.
Excellent.
What an idea.
Thank you.
I'm not in food. I just am a manager for the Innovation Center, but I'm just here to support.
Thank you for being here.
Korean American fast food. So we make burgers with Korean barbecue sauce and spicy pork sandwich. And our food truck is coming in May.
Nice. Congrats.
Ben, we're sharing our food stories real quick. If you would like to share yours, super comfortable.
Okay, I'm Reba and our company is Brown Sugar. We are a cookie bakery. We started in 2020 and started off doing pop-ups and things like that around the city. And we are opening a store here in Olathe at the corner of K7 in Santa Fe. We'll be open next month.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
A really good cookie stories. What cookies that? You didn't bring any cookies with you? I say that to you because I get up every single time I go somewhere, they're like, you didn't bring frozen yogurt with you? I had to give it back to you.
Yeah, if you like this.
Food Love Cafe, we run a restaurant that we opened up downtown, right in the middle of COVID, so we closed it a few months ago, but we're gonna be reopening one in Independence.
Wonderful. And that COVID, you're not alone. That COVID took us all by surprise.
Yeah, it killed my little baby, but that's okay, we're gonna come back.
Downtown KC or downtown?
Downtown Kansas City, Missouri, on 21st and Broadway, it was two things. COVID was one, but no parking was the other. So some of our takeaways is we don't want to ever lease again. We're looking to purchase a pad site. And we want our own parking, our own building and our own parking lot. We contracted with the nearby parking lot to give our customers a discount on that, but walking a block and a half, driving by and not seeing where you can put your car was a big factor.
And later they took that away because of some,
Vandalism, somebody was vandalizing
Oh,
the drunks from some of the nearby pubs or.
so it wiped out our dinner.
That's a tough area for.
You have a spot in Independence that you're looking at or?
We've got a couple of, we were eyeballing a couple of spots, but do you have one?
No, we're actually renovating a building we purchased off 23rd Street Independence.
We're not looking to lease.
No, we're moving our facility to.
Okay.
Oh,
Off of 21st and what?
23rd?
23rd next to the cosmetology school. It's an old Baptist church that we bought that we're renovating. So
Does it have a vent hood?
we're moving our spot in, but we're doing a complete gut. So I can talk to you about that.
Okay.
Wonderful experience. It's been a nightmare, but
We understand.
So it sounds like, a lot of the folks in the room are really looking at taking the next step or getting ready to do some hiring. And well, we're gonna lean on these folks to learn some best practices. But I'll tell you, my own experience is one of the biggest challenges you're gonna face is making that decision on who's the right person and how to find those people. So now that we have a good feel of who we're talking to and what some of the their needs might be, we go and get started. How did you make the decision to hire your first employee, and what was that procedure like for you?
Yeah, so I would say every business kind of yielded itself a different strategy, I would say, with hiring. So for me, it was two different things. One, when we first bought the Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory, it was already up and going. So I acquired employees when I had no clue what I was doing. So that was a learning lesson. But I also had to have people because it was busy enough where I couldn't just do it all on my own. So when I started another gig, I guess I would say in food, from the ground up, we didn't have any employees on that one. So then it was a little more strategic based off the numbers. So the strategy on that was hire people based off what we could afford and based off what that person could bring in added revenue. So essentially, I added a new person when the duties they were going to do would pay for their salary or for their hourly wage. So that would like kind of two different strategies there. One, have what you need to be able to actually function as a restaurant. And then two, as you're expanding, for us at least, we did it based off of each additional person creating more revenue for the business. And that's how I've done it, continuing up into what I'm doing now. So now for the Yogurtini, we have 3 locations. I have a regional director who kind of runs the day-to-day for everything, overseeing the 3 locations. And as we continue to add more people, it is what is this person going to bring to the table that will, one, pay for themselves, but also push us to the next level.
Thank you. Chef Jeff?
Yeah, so we really we brought on our first full-time person after COVID, but we hired our first permanent part-time salesperson during COVID because I simply just could not keep up with all the date changes and the cancellations and the last minute calling for we need corporate box individually, drop off. And so I could not handle keeping up with, the wedding changes, the last minute corporate. And I was, complaining to someone about it, and she had the availability to work part-time. And, that conversation was, oh, well, I can help you. And she was a caregiver for somebody, so she had the availability to work during the day and answer emails or phone calls. So we agreed that would guarantee you 10 hours a week just to monitor the info email. And then it was clear that 10 hours wasn't enough and she was working 20 hours. And then, we kept growing and because now I've got someone who's able to answer the calls instead of them leaving a message and I call them back in a day or two. We're actively selling right now because someone's able to answer the phone and take the order. And so then we're doing 20 hours a week. And then the conversation was, hey, you have the capacity to work 40 hours a week. What does that look like? And she needed health insurance, which, that was fine, but, looking through all that, was the benefit of her coming on full time and us paying health insurance, all that going to add value to the company and make us more money than we were already doing. And so that conversation was, yes, it was. And then I could focus on the kitchen and operation stuff and not the selling process. So that's really how we got to hiring our first full-time employee and, transitioned from that part-time position. Basically, she worked her way into a 40-hour an hour a week job. She'll say she works 60 now, but
I'm not surprised to hear it. Well, thank you, Chef. Chef Christopher?
Yeah, mine's kind of similar to yours. I brought on my first employee, and I think that you should bring on an employee when you feel that you can't give your customer the attention that you could when you were maybe first starting out. And that has kind of always been kind of my rule. And yeah, basically that's it. As soon as you feel that you can't give your customer that attention that you could, because you are growing and there is so many other things going on, that's probably when you need someone.
And thank you very much. So it sounds like we have a very similar kind of theme through this. It is based on volume. Can our capacity handle the volume that's being asked of our business? I mean, I think we all would like our businesses to grow. So you should start looking for your first employee around the time you're feeling that you can't keep up with what's being asked of your business. So now that we know we need to hire somebody, let's talk a bit about how we make the decision on the hiring process. Sometimes maybe you can look to the person next to you and go, I'm gonna hire my spouse as my first, or my sister, or my cousin. I'll warn you, my experience is that our friends and family maybe not be the right fit for our business. But let's go ahead and talk a bit about that. We'll switch up and start on this end. In the hiring process, what do you look for in staff members as you're evaluating?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I totally made that same decision. In the beginning, I hired my friends. They were around, they were, available and things like that. And so I started a lot with my friends. I was always kind of in industry, so I knew a lot of people, and I really kind of reached out on that as we would do large events and needed servers and kitchen staff and things like that. So I really leaned into my little networks that I made from working in industry. And since then, just like Charles said, that the friend dynamic and the family dynamic can get really, really weird as you get into business. It just gets really convoluted, it gets really personal, and it can be distracting and actually end up slowing you down. So, right now my whole crew is people that I've just kind of hired out from, Indeed and Craigslist, you name it. And that's been one thing that's been really, really helpful. So basically, yeah.
Excellent. Chef?
So the question was, what do we look for?
Yeah, when you're starting the hiring process, what do you look for in the staff members, or what advice could you give this group on some things?
So definitely have a defined role, like job description, like what position are you hiring for? Like, what are they actually going to be doing? And then, the people that are applying, do they actually meet, the qualifications? So we can post a chef position and we can say on Indeed that we want you to have 2 years culinary experience and banquet experience and and you're just going to get applicants that their experience is KFC and like that fast food is the only thing. And it's like, okay, not saying that there's nothing wrong with fast food workers, but like catering is very different than a restaurant, a food truck, fast food. And so just being very strategic on who you're even going to interview to make sure that, the experience that they're bringing is going to be a good fit. And then we're really big on culture and core values. And so making sure that that person is the right fit for the team. And so, when we interview, all of the people interview, we do a committee, like we team interview, ask the same questions and for all the candidates. But like in that interview process, we talk about our core values. We ask them about their core values and we talk about what those core values look like. So, one of our core values is, fun. Okay, well, that doesn't mean we don't work hard. Like we do work hard, but, fun can be one of our core values. But if your idea of fun means you need to be off by 5 p.m. every Friday and have every weekend off, that's not going to be a good culture fit for us, because that's not the life of catering and really any food service business. So I would say that's probably just really making sure I think it fit culturally, because their resume may look great, check references, obviously. Sometimes we check references before we even bring people in for the interview. And so I think I could go on and on and on and on, but that's probably just the tip of the iceberg.
And you, Mr. Sir?
Yeah, this is a tough one to answer because like they were saying, like we could spend a whole day talking on this just based off of the experiences we had, the failures that we had, the mistakes that we made and whatnot. And it's like, it's always hindsight, like it's 2020 or whatever that saying is on that. the skinny of it is it is a bad idea to hire friends and family. But when you are starting out and it's your first hire, second, third, fourth, fifth hire, it's the easiest thing to do is to hire friends and family. So you may have to fail through friends and family, but try to burn through that as fast as you can. Because I will tell you from losing 2 very serious relationships and friendships is a terrible idea. So stay away from it if you can, but just like working out to, lose weight or gain muscle or whatever it is, you have to go through the process to learn how to hire, how to train, how to retain, how to fire people, because it's not easy. So the biggest piece of advice I have is just get in the game and do it. If I'm speaking from Isaac at 12 years, I will say, just like they're saying, like culture and community is huge. My business that I'm hiring for, we don't have to have a lot of skills. So where I am hiring more character, integrity, what you're bringing to the plate as far as the person that you are. Are you kind? Are you coachable? Are you teachable? Do you want to learn? Are you asking questions? Because I can teach you in my industry what to do. I would rather you be coachable and nice, and I can teach you the rest. And with them, they're chefs. I don't think that they can just have someone who's nice with no skills. So I would say it has to be based off of your industry and what you're actually going to do. So take that with a little bit of a grain of salt if that resonates. Maybe a bakery type situation, maybe a little more synonymous with my industry. But if you're a full-on restaurant, disregard what I just said. But like he was saying, like be very clear in your job description what you are looking for. Because I know the mistake that I made is when I wasn't clear on what I was looking for and who I was looking for. And I interviewed someone that I liked, or honestly, when I was younger and dumber and, oh, she was cute, so let's hire her. Like I'm 35, married, 2 kids, like not looking, what I'm saying? So you have to be very clear on those things, exactly what you're looking for, or you're getting to a space where you're going to make a bad decision because you were unclear. And I know for me, I didn't put it on those hires, and it wasn't their fault. It was me for being unclear and not knowing exactly what I wanted. So
Exactly. So it sounds like we have some common threads. When we're looking at what the right folks are, we need to know what our culture is in our work environment. We have a mixed variety here of individuals and individual concepts, but they all have a culture that they want to hire folks into. And as you're hiring folks into culture, you're right. Sometimes it's skill-based. Sometimes it's do I like this person? Can this person take good care of our guests? Some things I will recommend to you in the interviewing process. It's going to take hundreds of interviews for you to become comfortable at it. Get good at it, practice, script it at first, get good at where you can ebb and flow with folks. Talk until you're sure. There's a lot of folks, the first 10 minutes I've talked to them, I was like, this is the right person. I want them on my team. If I talked 10 more minutes, they probably would have walked them right out the door. So talk until you're sure. Make sure that you've shared with them your expectations of their role, of their commitment, of their abilities. But most importantly, make sure they know what kind of team they're joining and what those expectations are. And I call that setting them up for success. And that's really hard to do if you don't have a real clear roadmap of where you want to take those folks. It becomes very challenging.
We have a question
right now.
Yes.
Are the questions now or afterwards?
I would say if y'all want to just shoot them, let's do it.
I got a question. You say you did team interviews.
Yes.
How many would you have interviewing a person?
So if we're hiring for a leadership position, like a new executive chef, we're gonna have everybody on our leadership team. So our director of sales, our operations manager, we're gonna have one kitchen staff person. So, a sous chef or a dishwasher on that interview committee. So we have 4 to myself. So, and then actually the last time we had a catering, just a part-time catering attendant come in too. So 5 people.
Okay.
At the same time?
Yep, so we just sit around the table, the candidate comes in, they sit in the hot seat, and then we just, everybody on the interview committee's got the printed out questions, and then we just round robin question. Every time we interview somebody, if we're interviewing, 4 people for that position, everybody's gonna ask the exact same question. We ask them in the same order, we take notes. And that's really just legality. So if there's ever any questions on
Right.
your hiring practices, you've got, your documentation of, we ask everyone the same questions and we did it in the same order. And so, yes.
Do you try to keep it an odd number, so like there isn't,
No, we
a
don't. And
division?
so what I tell my staff is, okay, like, I do value everyone's input. Ultimately, the decision is gonna be my decision on who we hire. I would say, most of the time, we all agree on who the right person is. But I always do start that, reminding them that I value everyone's input. Ultimately, the decision is gonna be my decision, on who we hire. And so if it's not, yeah, we're not bringing in we're not doing 6-panel interview for a part-time catering attendant position. I mean, that might be, a captain, an event captain, and then, one other person. And so the higher up the position is, the more people on the committee. Yes.
And you were talking about systemization, and I have two questions kind of related, but are there any good books on systemization as you move into that? That was my first question, or references to study deeply. And then I was just curious if you could define your current teams, so that I can kind of get a picture of what that looks like from, here's point A, it's just you, but here are some different ways that you have built a team. I was just curious.
I'm not sure how many books are out there because a lot of the systems are very based on specific, your menu mix, your location. I've been,
Teams for hiring people.
for the systemization of that, each one might be different, but, what was the second part of your question? I'm sorry.
And if you have any ideas that come to mind, on the systemization, but
Yeah, I do have one thing about the systemization.
Yeah.
It's not a book, but find an HR consultant. None of us, I mean, I don't think anybody here is ready to hire an HR director. I don't even have an HR director, but hire an HR consultant, especially before you do your first full-time, hire, maybe even your part-time, but they can walk you through it. They will write you an employee handbook that meets state laws. It's gonna be expensive. You're gonna be $2,500, but I'm telling you, the time that comes and you need to get rid of somebody, it's gonna save your ass that you have hired somebody. And so they're gonna make sure that you have your job descriptions and all the onboarding, paperwork that you need. And so I don't know, I don't have a book, to say to read, but I would say that piece of advice is very, very, very important.
Great point. What was Chef, Chris, what was your onboarding process like? There's the paperwork, there's the legality things. How do you prepare yourself for that aspect of bringing staff members on board?
Absolutely. So when you're starting a business, I didn't have $2,500 to throw down on a employee handbook. So basically, I would just bring people in, and you would kind of just be a part of the crew, and you'll see really quickly if someone is going to be a part of your team. And hire fast, but fire faster. Don't be afraid. If someone is, not part of the crew, does not jive with everybody, don't be afraid to let them go. And you have to make those crucial decisions, because that could mean your business surviving or a client being happy and whatnot. So yeah.
One bad culture, one bad apple will tarnish your entire
100%.
the morale.
Yeah.
So how do you find that bad apple in the interviewing process? How do you not even bring that apple into your basket? Is there any interviewing techniques or tips you might have for us?
Yeah, so we have went through a lot of people. The nature of my industry is we have a lot of turnover because we're hiring younger people. So our team right now of our 3 locations, we have 50 employees. 46 of them are between 14 and 18. We are young, and oh my gosh, it's a headache. But we go through a lot of people and all this stuff. But my philosophy now is we hire super slow and we fire super fast. So my process to weed people out is like you were saying, I loved it. We do long ass interviews. Because the first 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, they're gonna put on their best face. Their parents or whoever it is have trained them on how to do an interview, your strengths and your weaknesses and all those basic questions that we all have. But we have some zingers in there towards the end that are more getting them to talk about their character and their integrity and how they would handle certain situations. And after our interviews are about an hour, even with 14, 15, 16-year-olds, because we want to break them down so they start to reveal and show them their actual selves. And that is when a heck yes turns into a no sometimes. That's what we do because we have went based off of the first 10, 15 minutes. Oh, today we have to interview 6 people. Okay, well, we don't want this to be 6 hours, so let's do 15 minutes each so we can get out of here. We made a lot of mistakes. Now we don't make many mistakes because we do longer interviews, but also kind of you said you do a team. We don't do the team at the same time. If it's a shift manager, an assistant manager, a store manager, they'll go through a store manager, they'll go through my regional director, and then they'll go through me. So they're going through 3 levels of long interviews to see, 1, do you think you actually want to do this because we don't mess around? And 2, did you show cracks in that process? That works for us. I didn't hire someone to do all that, but I had a really good accountant that was kind of like an accountant, kind of like HR, kind of like an attorney. I was very blessed in that. And she lined all that stuff out for me. I do agree that it's very important to have that stuff figured out. Try to do it cheap if you can, but also don't skip steps because it will screw you in the end. Talking about employee handbook, that kind of stuff. So just know your process and know that it needs to be the same every single time so you don't miss steps. So, you know, for us, it is application resume. It is long interview. It is references. And then when we hire, we have a process for new hire paperwork. Once they're hired, they come in, they do a decently long onboarding process, training manual, what's the thing? Sorry, I'm tired, guys. I had a baby. We had a baby 2 weeks ago. I'm still like struggling to like think. I said training manual twice. Training manual, handbook, sorry. I was like talking to someone at the front desk when I got here and I like pulled my keys out and stared at them for 5 seconds. She's like, are you good? I'm not really sure.
You got a baby on.
Yeah, I'm like, this is a big
Questions at the very end.
What'd you say?
The zinger questions at the very end. I'm just curious what those are that.
I have not done an interview in 3 years, so I connect with me after and I can email you the exact ones that we
I
did.
would love to see this.
Yeah.
Like one of ours is, you're on your way to a catering, for 250 people. And the van gets in a wreck and is undrivable, everything, all the staff's fine. Like, what do you do? I don't know what the right answer is. Like, they probably don't know their, I want to see like, you know, can they problem solve? Like, one of the, one of our questions is a catering's walking out the door in 15 minutes and you drop a pan of chicken, it's unsalvageable. What do you do? I mean, you're leaving in 10 minutes for an event. What are you gonna do? Can you problem solve? Okay, well, we're gonna send everything and the event's actually not starting, dinner's not for 3 hours, it's gonna be appetizers, so then someone's gonna take it and deliver it. So it's those are some of the type of questions that we do.
Those are
that
great
we
questions.
throw in that, they're like, oh, or, if you ask someone, tell me about your 3 core values. If they can't freaking come up with 2 values, so.
Yeah.
I just want to chime in. So in one interview, the biggest thing that ever stuck with me, they asked me, how do you change a flat tire? It had nothing to do with anything, but they wanted to make sure I knew first you put the brake on, like step by step by step. And it's always stuck with me. I'm like, that doesn't pertain to anything I'm going to. Right. It just caught me off guard, but it's always stuck with me. I'm like,
It sounds like you wanted to know if you could follow, have a procedure.
Two that I've liked from corporate America that my husband, one of his bosses used to ask, what'd you do your junior year of high school? Summer, because it showed whether you were working or not. If you didn't work, you didn't get a job. I mean, that way it was point blank. That was if you didn't have a job by that age, you would hire you. Another one when I was in the food industry would ask, what's the strangest thing in your freezer right
What was?
The strangest thing in your freezer, because you really found out if they were, did they really, like, really food people? That they're talking the talk, but what's the strangest thing in your freezer? But I have a couple questions. One thing, do you source out your payroll? And the other one is what do you learn from the worst hire you made?
Gosh, those are good questions.
Okay, you ready to go?
I can be.
Well, so payroll QuickBooks Online, you can literally do it yourself. You can even set it up to where I've even taken an iPad and turned it into a little kiosk, and that's like my clock-in machine. Super cheap, super straightforward. It will even let you know about your taxes and help you pay those along the way. That's been the easiest one, and that's helped us kind of grow.
It was relatively portable service.
Yeah, cheap, literally just.
How many employees do you have?
I'm at 5 now with tons. Now my event staff and things like that, they're kind of W-9, so they don't necessarily clock in. But that QuickBooks has been super nice. You can even add the option to where it kind of tracks them. So when I first started it, I was allowing employees to clock in on their phone while they were clocking in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And then coming
As it
in.
goes by, you have to be within
Yeah.
so many feet or something like that.
Exactly. So I switched it to literally, I just bought an iPad, mounted it up to the wall, and so they could come in, add their little PIN number. That's the cheapest system that I could find possible and streamlines it.
How many W-9s do you have right now?
Oh, man, countless. And then this year it'll be, Lord knows, probably 20, 25, 30. Yeah.
So for payroll, we use our accountant wholesales us ADP, which is a payroll processing. So we don't deal with ADP, but we deal with our accountant. We input everything, we hit submit. If I have any questions, I'll email my accountant. If our accountant has any, they'll email us. And then, they actually hit the submit, then ADP handles all the taxes. I think that runs us through our accountant about $80 a month.
And how many are on your team?
6 full-time staff and then about 25 part-time. And then all of our staff is, we don't have any contractor labor, and they're all staffed. What was your other question? Oh, the hire.
What do you learn from your worst hire?
Worst hire, so I did not, the made up resume just really was like, oh my God, this is the best person ever. And we did not do a thorough enough job on making sure it was actual. Thankfully, he was buying alcohol with the company cars, so we could get rid of him very quickly and not have to put him on a plan. But I mean, it was a disaster.
Was it a chef position?
I mean, it was bad. I mean, if you don't know, if you've been a chef for X amount of years and you worked in all these hotels, you should get a sanitation bucket when you start your shift. I mean, it's small things like that. Like this is not going well. So anyways, that was thorough references. I mean, if they say no one's with the company that I work for, there is an HR department at the Marriott. They can tell you if they have worked there and if they're rehirable. So
Is that the key one, if the rehire?
That's all they can.
that's all that legally they can tell you is their employment dates and if they're rehirable. Now, if I call and talk to, a small business owner, oh my God, they were so great. I mean, you're gonna know, if they just say they're ineligible for rehirable, if they're ineligible for rehire, you're gonna know. I mean, if it was a good experience, oh yes, they were great, and they, blah, blah, blah. I mean, so yes, you can read between the lines, but yeah, legally also they have to tell you is their employment dates if they're rehirable.
What do you do for your payroll and any lessons learned on bad staff members?
Old school, I use QuickBooks as well. I use the desktop version because I'm cheap.
And don't want to pay that online subscription.
Yeah, the online's amazing, but you have to pay that amount per LLC. We have 5, so that's, so I don't do that. So desktop has way too many features. We don't even use a fraction of it. But I have a hotspot, so I kind of created my own online version, I guess. And we have payroll enhanced, and we do all of our own payroll as well. That same accountant / attorney / HR person taught me in the beginning. I had When I started the program I went through to get into business, we had a lot of advisors and mentors who had been in business for a long time. And so when I started, I just asked them a bunch of questions like you guys are doing now. And I heard a lot of people getting burned whenever they went to outsource something they didn't understand. And so I wanted to understand what's underneath the hood in a lot of these things. So instead of just handing it to my accountant, I had her teach me it. She still did my quarterly estimates and my annual end of year tax returns, that kind of stuff, but she was teaching me the daily things that I needed to do. And one of those was payroll. And so now I do all my own stuff and I don't even use my account until the end of the year. So I would say if you're paying someone, just ask questions. You may not want to know all of it, but just ask questions. They should tell you those kinds of things. And I love it. For clocking in, you mentioned that I use when I work. For my stores, the clocking in goes through the register, but I don't want to pop around each location to pull that data. So now when I work is cloud-based, which I'm guessing QuickBooks is too on that.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go everywhere. You just immediately have it. Someone forgets to clock in, you can log in, you can put their time in, that kind of stuff. When it's time for payroll, you just pull that payroll and you can submit it immediately.
Great question. And just for time's sake, I'm going to try to keep moving here just a bit because we've talked a lot so far about the intricacies and the challenges that face us in the hiring process, making the determination, when do we need staff? How do we bring them on board a bit? If I could ask real quick and answer quickly, how do you advertise you need staff, Jeff?
Indeed, Craigslist, Facebook, online, all those things. We've even gone put stuff on job boards and bulletin boards around the area, but online is wonderful. Use those resources. You can find ones that are fairly cheap and, ineffective.
Excellent.
What do you mean job boards?
Literally job boards, cafes. I'm in Midtown, so
Bulletin boards.
yeah, like an old school, like a bulletin board. Literally, we'll post up a thing saying that we're hiring.
Grocery stores, coffee shops.
Gotcha.
Places like this, you can reach out to, innovation centers and stuff like that.
And universities as
Yeah.
well, UMKC, Rockhurst, any of your
JUCO,
colleges.
JUCO's got a job board that you can do online and
We would use those resources. I just didn't know to call it a job board.
Yeah, with all the physical and they'll have an online one. For us, same. Indeed was probably one of our best for our management to get as far as team members, shift lead, shift managers. We just put a sign on the front of our door says we're hiring, and then we have paper applications to get them quicker, but then we'll put it on social media as well. And we have an online link we can send people. So we want the applications quick because in this market right now, people are getting 10, 15 hits and they have their pick of the litter. So what we like to do is just interview fast and hire on the spot, or people are going to be gone if you're going to wait 2 days. So
Yeah, I would concur. It sounds like everybody in this group has a very broad net in their advertising for help. There's not just one right answer. You can't just go to this one site and advertise here. You may have to walk the streets. You may have to self-promote. Staff, your current staff getting out there recruiting is going to be important. Yes, sir. You had a question?
I was interested in each of you, how do you retain?
And that's where we're segueing, because the hiring process, we just talked in depth about that. It's hard, it's costly, it's time consuming, and you may or may not be making the right decision, who knows? But things we do know is the quality of the staff member that we have. And let's talk about that. How do we retain staff members? I want to say it starts with having a culture and in training and in making sure you made the right decisions. But there's a lot more complexities to that. Chef, do you have any tricks that you do, or what do you look for in retaining staff members?
Yeah, so for retaining, you've got to take care of your people today. You got to make sure, and everybody's different too. I really urge you to, as you bring these people on, find out kind of who they are. Everyone has different things that they want. Some people want to get off early, and some people want maybe tickets to an event. Some people just want to make some money. You got to find out what makes kind of each person tick. And, and that's kind of like being involved in your business and knowing these people. And then also people in general want to be a part of something special. They want to be a part of, fun events and, making stuff. Kansas City is such a great place right now. The city's blowing up. So people really, really want to be a part of, putting out great food and putting out great service. Because then after the event, you come back and it's like, wow, I can't believe we just fed all these people. We just did all this stuff. And the more you do and the more you kind of spend time with your team, it just becomes easier. And you guys start to know each other a little bit better and know your strengths and weaknesses. And, that's a big thing with me. And also, I don't micromanage a lot. I give my staff a lot of freedom as far as creativity and menus and stuff like that. So they're not just stagnant on doing the same thing over and over and over again. And then also with my business, we build custom events. So no two events is the exact same. So it's always, the staff that I have and that I retain are ones that are constantly wanting to be challenged and pushed. And, it's definitely a job that after you've gone with me, then you'll be able to work in a lot of different capacities. And also I'm pretty transparent with the business. I show them, how we're doing in sales and how that compares to what they're spending and things like that. So, you've got to find the right people for that particular thing. But once you do, then they almost feel like they do feel like they're a part of the team, a part of the company. You know what I mean?
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Shep, you'd like to?
Yeah, I mean, everything he said is really spot on. We've got a monitor in our room that, talks about our sales. So like it's out for everyone, even the warehouse workers know, are we ahead of sales, behind sales? Because it takes all of us to make the company go. And we want every single person to feel like they're an important part of the team because they are. We do quarterly team outings, so we will block off a time on the calendar, and we, company-wide, we'll go do something. Sometimes it's only for employees, sometimes we allow it to be for significant others, and then usually in the summer we'll do something for family. And so that's for everybody. And I mean, like at the Christmas party or the holiday party, I mean, the part-time staff just like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like even my full-time job has never done anything like this. And it's like, I mean, yes, it costs us, $150, $200 a person. Like, and that you don't have to go extravagant. Like we did not start out doing extravagant. But like, just for them to know that they are appreciated and valued. And then they start sharing that information. And then their friends want to come work because they see the awesome things that, Dutzel's Catering is doing to take care of their staff. Our full-time staff have opportunities for professional growth. We're going to Orlando at the end of this month for the National Catering Convention. So we're taking 4 of us down there. The convention starts Monday night, but we're going down Sunday, and I'm paying for 2 days of theme park. So they can go to Disney one day, and then we're going to go to Universal one day. So just having that, yes, we work hard, but we do have time for play.
That's awesome.
So I think that's.
So that you guys had some fun in the summertime.
Sounds like
How about you guys?
These two guys are geniuses. Everything they said is amazing. It's perfect. It's not about you. We're the bosses, we're the owners, we're the founders. But if you make it too much about you, it's just gonna end up being you. It took me way too long to learn that with my journey. And so for me, everyone was saying, when you write your business plan, you start with the mission, the vision. Get clear on the mission and vision, okay? Well, for me, when I was clear on the mission and vision, I tried to beat my team over the head with the mission and the vision. Okay, here's what we want to make our people feel. Here's the experience we want them to have. Yeah, that sounds great, but if you're not letting them in on it, it doesn't feel good to them, especially for my demographic. They're in high school and college. They're already being lectured all day. So being lectured again, that doesn't feel good. Why would they want to be there? It's not fun. So for us, and I only figured this out probably 3 or 4 years ago, is we flip it on its head. Let's listen to them. The mission, the vision is what it is, but how we get there, I don't care as long as we get there. So what ideas do you have? And oh my gosh, as far as empowerment and delegation and buy-in and whatnot, it shot through the roof, which created a whole new community and culture inside of organization because, these team members who are the lowest on the hierarchy, we have To answer your question from earlier, ma'am, we have team members, shift leads, shift managers, assistant managers, store managers, regional managers. So if a team member has an idea and it's good, we're gonna run with it. How excited are you as a 15-year-old team member to have an idea and this whole organization of 50 people is going to do it because your idea was so good? We do that all the time. Some of the best things rarely come from me. It is someone on the team that does it. We're like, that's awesome. We're gonna do this and we're gonna try it. And if it fails, that is an awesome way to have a teaching lesson to your team of not everything's gonna be perfect. That's okay. We don't jump ship when things get hard. We reanalyze and then we keep going. So that's what I would say. And then I'll give you guys 2 resources. That'll be really good. You actually said this, I'm not sure if you read this book, but what you're saying was perfect about how you open your books up to your team and you said you share your sales with them. Don't fall in the trap of closing everything up for your team. Like that is the easiest way to make them be very unempowered. And if you don't let them care, they're not going to care. Open it up. They're a part of your team. They're helping you get there. So the book is The Great Game of Business. It's a great book. And then the second one, I want you guys to write down, the book is called Unshakable Hospitality. It's by Will something or other, but it talks about how can you go above and beyond, not with your service, not with your customer service, not with your support, but your hospitality, going above and beyond to create a culture
Same time again, I'm sorry.
of unshakable hospitality. How do you essentially create raving fans? I know someone else, Simon Sinek or someone wrote a book about creating raving fans, but Simon Sinek's publishing company actually published this book, Unshakable Hospitality. It's great. So
What is Zingerman's customer service? I don't know if you guys are Zingerman's. You know Zingerman's? Everybody, they are a mecca in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And their philosophy of employees and customer service, they started from the beginning.
So it's called
Zingerman's, they have a small book in customer service. Yeah, and every one of their employees has the power to make a customer happy.
And that's the title, Zingerman's
Yeah,
Customer
just
Service.
Yeah, Zingerman's customer service. They retain their employees. They are like, it's worth a road trip for food people.
Yeah.
I mean, they ask you 2 questions, you order stuff from them. And 1 question, were you happy? And if you were not happy, you will get somebody from them making you happy. Everything in their store, you could use a sample. So anyway, it's a great, it's a book I keep on my nightstand.
So
For your employees, do you have the structuralized time that you as yourself go in and talk to those like 15 years old workers, like,
Yeah.
let's listen to your idea. What kind of things can we improve? What do you see out there?
So we meet them where they're at. So we tried all these different platforms to be able to have conversation with them, Facebook groups, email, all the kind of stuff. None of it worked. What has worked that's revolutionized it is, I don't know if anyone in here has heard of Discord. So Discord is like, I guess it probably started for like gamers and like, I have known about Discord because I'm a gamer. I like anime, I like all that kind of stuff. But that's what all the kids are on. So we took our whole organization, put it on Discord. All of them are already on Discord. And so now our channel is separated by store, by managers, by shift leads, by all the kind of stuff. So we always having, like literally if you go in there, just constant conversations in there. But each manager has a one-on-one meeting each month with every employee. So they're hearing that and it kind of gets passed up. I have a weekly meeting with my managers every single week on Tuesday at 10 o'clock. So we're just passing all that up and we have a whole set of meeting notes. And then I try to be at every single monthly meeting. And if I can't, my regional director does go and she passes everything up to me. But my paternity leave stops here in 3 or 4 weeks. I'll be just going around the stores again to be able to just like pop in and see what's up with them. Kind of a secret shop, but also just to hang out. Like when I go in, I don't tell them what to do and all that. It's not my job. If I see something, I will pass it along to the store manager. They'll have the conversation. I am there to show that I care. How are you? What are you thinking? All that kind of stuff so they can feel heard in that way.
So if you go to eShop Weekly, just to, or?
2 of them, yes. One of them, our top performing store, is run by one of the best hires I've ever had. And so I go there rarely because honestly, the store is perfect. So I don't go there because she's got a whole wrap on it. My regional goes there and they do like marketing stuff. And then I go to her store, I go to her quarterly big meetings. And there's a whole strategy behind that, but yeah.
Do you
What was
give
the
them
question?
more?
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
And folks, if you don't mind, just for time's sake, I'm gonna keep moving on. So it sounds, this class really, I believe you all folks could agree with me. We could talk for hours about this. It's a very complicated and very challenging subject. But I think as we've been answering some things about the retention of staff members, I'm finding some common threads. Again, very vast and very different food stories here, but I'm hearing some common threads. The first one is communication. To maintain a relationship with your employees and to ensure that you're going to retain their loyal employment to your cause, you need to communicate with them. If we're not communicating with them, we're not going to know that they have this doctor's appointment. We're not going to know that they want to leave at 5 every day. We're not going to know what's going on in their lives. We're not going to know what motivates these individuals. The communication will allow you to build relationships with these individuals, allowing you to truly build that community that it takes to have a successful business. And other things I'm hearing is the other part of the communication is folks want to know where they're at. Is all our hard work paying off? Our sales, what are our sales? I'll tell you what, I love when an employee has the faith to go buy a new car or something. That tells me that they have faith in their employment. They know, I've got a job because chef telling me, not only telling me good job every day, but I can see our food cost up here is making money for the company, ensuring that we can move forward. Old school business, you kept all that information private. And I'm not saying you need to share everything with everybody, but there's some information out there that used properly can be used as a motivation device for your team members. Maybe you create that quiet competition between locations, or maybe you create that, hey, we had an increase in sales month over month or year over year, or an increase in customer satisfaction surveys. All that information can be used to motivate your team members to let you know that let them know they're part of a winning team. And that's what they want to know. That's what they want to feel good about the job they're doing it and so forth. In addition to that, we need to figure out a way to recognize the hard work. And everybody's different. Some folks like to be stood up in the middle of the room on a pedestal and everybody claps for them. Some other folks, that's going to make them mad and feel, I don't like that recognition. I just want to get in there and do a good job. So knowing what kind of individuals you're dealing with and creating the personal relationships will allow you to figure out how to lead those individuals, thereby ensuring that you can take them into the future, because finding new staff members is very hard. And the last thing if we could talk about before we get to open questions and answers is, if I could put this to the panel, how do you know when it's time to let somebody go? We talked about bad apples, sometimes getting that out of the basket or that cracked egg out of there. When do you call it good?
So as a general rule, I feel like if we've had to have a conversation about a person 3 times, then you kind of get put in the hot seat, and we're really kind of watching you. And, quickly, I'm not if someone is someone's bringing your team down, you need to extract them quickly. They can literally do more damage being around. Quiet quitting is a thing now where they just kind of do the bare minimum. And you'll see that, you'll notice that as if you're all operators and you're in your business, you'll just notice that it's an attitude, it's a vibe. And it can be toxic, and it puts off onto other employees that may really care. So, my rule is that if we're having a conversation about a person 3 times, and it's probably time to look at that and make an adjustment.
And those conversations can be tough sometimes. And again, that's why friends and family hired them. Sometimes it's even harder to have those conversations with them. How do you know when it's time to talk with the staff member?
Yeah, so if they, usually they're just not meeting expectations, because if someone's not meeting expectations, other people are picking up the slack, and now everyone's, irritated because they're having to do someone else's job. Or if the person's not performing, they're making us look bad. Either, like, if someone doesn't solve the problem, we're gonna look bad at it a bit. So we when we start seeing a pattern, we have a conversation. Hey, I've got some concerns on performance, oh yeah, I'm gonna do better. Okay, thanks for letting me know. Okay, well, then it happens again next week. Okay, well, now we're having a conversation about being put on a personal improvement plan because we do want to help you succeed. And so we're gonna line out exactly the expectations of what we need to see to improve and then how we're gonna help you get there. So in the fall, we had someone who wasn't, timeliness was a big problem, like not meeting the to-do list, not meeting. And so, we came up with a plan of how we're gonna help this person be successful. And then we're gonna do a check-in every Tuesday. And this is what you're gonna bring to the meeting on Tuesday to help, show us what you're doing to improve. And then when they don't show up, when they show up at that meeting with nothing, that's gonna tell you, they really don't care about improving because you've set the expectation that this is what we're doing to help you improve. This is what your responsibilities are. And this is what I want to see. And then when they don't see it, now you can really have a conversation of hey, you're not even trying to improve and we're trying to help you improve. And so, you can artfully talk that change. Hopefully you can change that conversation into, maybe helping them resign and go somewhere else instead of you having to fire them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we really try to put people on plans to show that we are trying to help grow and we've set expectations of why you're not performing. And sometimes none of that happens when you are stealing or using the company credit card incorrectly. Then that's just a bye-bye conversation. But,
You have them sign with it?
oh God, yes. We document and sign everything. And then sometimes follow up with an email, just for another layer. So.
When I'm training my leaders, my managers, I always say, hey, your people aren't doing something for two reasons. One, they weren't trained how to do it thoroughly, and two, they don't want to. I say it's rarely the second one that they don't want to. I find a lot of times it's on us because there was some sort of lack of clarity in what exactly is expected of them. So that starts from the onboarding process of the second they get hired. Job description, like these two gentlemen said, what is required of them in every step of the process. So systemization, like we've talked about today, but also the list of things that are non-negotiable. So we have a write-up policy of 3 strikes you're out as well, but we also have an extensive list of 1 strike terminations. You do this one time and you are done. I don't care about an excuse, you are out of here. So that is kind of what we do as far as that goes. I don't have anything above and beyond extra besides what they've already said, so.
So one thing that we can also do is, are they coachable? So, we've got 4 quadrant. You're a great employee at your job. You're a great culture fit. You're a great culture fit. You're bad at your job. You're bad culture fit, bad at your job. Those are easy people to get rid of, and then you've got whatever the other one was. You're good at your job, but you're bad culture fit. And so, some stuff obviously is non-negotiable about a job. If you hire a dishwasher, they have to wash dishes. That's non-negotiable. But if you've got a management position or somebody else, maybe they're really good at 4 of the jobs, but they really suck at the 5th thing because they hate that. And so also before they go onto a plan, hey, you don't do this, but you do these 4 things really well. If you have ability in your company to, maybe we're switching that task to someone else because someone else would actually be better. So just because someone's not performing, having that conversation, why are you not performing? Because you do these 4 things really, really well, but you really suck at this. Well, they hate doing this, but this person could possibly do it. So just having that conversation also before, we don't always just jump into and fire people, but
It's not healthy, and I've unfortunately had to let folks go in some of my last roles, and never once have I felt good about it. Never once have I felt satisfaction with that. And each of those times, I've, especially as I've gotten older, I've tried to evaluate my role in that. Did I make the wrong decision in the hiring process? Did I not create the proper culture? Did we not add, did I try to fit a round peg into a square hole? Did I make this person into somebody they didn't want? Did I not communicate with them properly? Is this an evening person I'm asking to be in for a morning shift? It's great to evaluate those things, but you have to, once you've made the decision that you're going to be letting somebody go, you've had those conversations. Worst case scenario, you've caught them stealing or something from your business. then you have to get those individuals out of your system because your hardworking, dedicated staff members will feel the impact of that negativity in your system.
They're also gonna learn what behavior you are not allowed to get away with.
You know,
Oh,
100%.
somebody stole a case of steaks out of your walk-in and you know that nothing happened.
Mhm.
You know, so like that's, the behavior that you're gonna allow us to set up.
Easiest way to lose good people, and it's also like, who are you gonna cater to, your worst people or your best people? It's like you are not doing a good service to the rest of your team if you're catering to your worst people, because good people don't want to put up with that. They want structure, they want accountability, they want to be challenged, and they want everyone to be challenged. So that's the fastest way to lose your best people is by letting things go for your worst people. And every organization knows who they are. But if you have that systemization and structure, I've never fired someone to this day. We fired so many people because we are so quick to fire. I've never fired someone and they didn't know it was coming, or they were confused, or they were like, every time they're like, yeah, that makes sense.
You waited too long to do this, I have.
Yeah. It's still here. But if you're not clear with that, it could get really, really murky. So
As you folks are learning to grow your business, the best thing you can do for your business is to make proper hiring decisions. The easiest way to grow your business is to ensure you've got enough horsepower in your tank to drive your business forward. And with great communication, great vesting of employees, you can find those things. And for time's sake, I would like to just kind of put it to the panelists to see if you have any closing thoughts. We start with you, Chef.
No, I don't think so. If anyone has any questions, any other?
Go for it.
So in this class, one of the reasons why I wanted to take it was the retaining employees piece. And I appreciate your feedback with getting to know them and making sure you accommodate and reward them and making them feel like family and making them feel involved and relevant and all of that. So I took a lot of notes. But back to the interviewing process, one of the things that we were running into was people just not even showing up.
Yeah.
It's like this new culture, this new paradigm where people we could have 10 interviews lined up for the day, and we had days where nobody showed up. Or we had days where 2 or 3 show up, but we still get a big percentage of no-shows. And of the ones that do show up, they show up and they smell like alcohol, or they are dressed in a way that my generation, we went to a job interview a certain way. And I come from corporate, and I used to do hair, and I've interviewed for hairstylist positions, which is, flat shoes and a smock type of a job, but still to go to the interview, I'd have on business attire.
Certainly.
And now I'm interviewing, even now, I'm interviewing for chef positions. I think I have an application at your company. But anyway, they're looking for an executive chef, but anyway.
So your question is how do we get folks in for the interview?
And when the ones that do show up, just, barely seem qualified, what can you do to really get more qualified people to show up and interview and actually qualify for the second interview?
I don't know that I have an answer to that because we'll have people not show up for a $70,000 salary position with health insurance and unlimited paid time off.
It's not just us.
No. That's kind of a thing right now. I don't know anything else than.
How are people working? How are people paying their bills? They're not.
So
We're all out there.
So what I think the problem is I believe that we in some ways are saturated with our food service workers. During the pandemic, a lot of the food service workers, hours were reduced in some capacity, or there were a lot of hiring in some other areas. So I believe right now we have a vacuum of food service workers. Just so everyone knows, there is several entities in the Kansas City area, including our soon to open culinary center, that we're hopefully training some new culinarians coming on board to help all of us out.
Yeah.
But the right answer right now, there's a lot of jobs out there and there's not a lot of quality individuals looking for those jobs. So what we need to do is we need to cast a wide net. We need to advertise broadly, and we need to realize that out of those 75 applicants, probably one is going to work out for us at best. And once we get that individual, we better hold on to them. Make sure we're bringing the right person on, but we better hold on to that person, because if we let them get down the road, there's a lot of competition out there for those staff members. So be aggressive.
They hire on the spot?
Hire on the spot. If you
hire on the spot.
if
We
you
still
talk to them for if you talk to somebody for an hour, hour and a half, and you're like, I can't let them get down the road, don't let them get down the road. Because somebody else is going to say, after 2 minutes, is going to bring them on board.
So, just real quick, you can't really do this when you're starting out and hiring your first employee, but like, we are social media, we show our staff having fun. When we're doing a company outing, we post that. When we're at
That's
Disney,
great.
we post that, because then when we have a position that's posted, where we're looking, your competitors and your people that are working for your competition, they are following your social media. And so then when you post, they're gonna be like, oh, I wanna go work for Dutzel's now. And so that's how you're gonna start like getting people that aren't just applying, on Indeed that you don't know, like they're industry people that have seen your work and they want to be part of the fun that they see that your staff's out doing. Or when you take your staff, to the awards gala for all the wedding vendors in Kansas City, and you bought that front table for $2,000 to take your staff and be, have a night out. Like people see what you're doing and the way you're treating your employees.
Yeah.
And so just don't be afraid to brag on that and post that and share that, because eventually people are gonna start learning what you're doing. And then when you grow your team and you need 30 people, that will help get people.
Now, I would say, even as we're facing these hiring challenges and I don't know if you gentlemen can agree with me, but hold off till you make the right decision. Bringing the wrong person in, even if you're shorthanded, sometimes it helps, but boy, it can sure be hard to get rid of that person. But overall, if you're making the right decisions, and to help with recruiting of individuals, the verbiage in your recruitment statements is also very important. You have to know what you're looking for, but look at the different ways to advertise those ads and your verbiage. Do you lead with your rate of pay? I don't know. I mean, most of the time, you're probably not going to want to do that. So you want to focus your ad on your culture, or if you want to hire someone that doesn't have skills, you might want to average, but has a good personality. Put that right up at the top of your ad, looking for those diamonds in the rough kind of thing. So getting creative, getting aggressive, casting a wide net is the only thing I can think to help us with the employee shortage right now.
Honestly, to double down, I think he nailed it. Like, I'm kind of bragging. We haven't had an issue with hiring. It's all culture. It's all community. Just what he said was perfect of like, we make it look like it's fun. If you look at our social media, it is fun. There's perks, there's benefits, there's all the kind of stuff. And so like our industry, unfortunately, is the one that's getting hit, food, hospitality, that kind of stuff. All the others, I'm not gonna say all the others, but a lot of the others aren't having an issue. But the people who have good culture and community in our space of hospitality and retail and food, not every single person is struggling. Just the people who like to be in our industry are going to the places that are known to have a good culture. So create a good culture and people are going to come. And what I'll say to what you said earlier, like my dad, when I say something that I'm trying to figure out something that I can't control, he'll recite the Serenity prayer to me. Every single time. I should just know it's coming at this point, but it helps me of like, I can't control that. So just, keep casting the net, keep putting those Indeed, Craigslist, all the social media, all different things. And they'll come and the right person's gonna stay. But like I was saying over here, like I steal people from other people. If I'm going somewhere and you have good customer service and I think you'd be great for our team, I'm gonna slide you my business card and tell you on the spot, here's why you should work for us. But I'm also confident on the backside that if you make that jump, you will stay. So be confident that if you steal someone, they will stay. Be confident in what you built, that they'll come, they'll stay, and they'll love being there.
And so obviously you need to pay people a livable wage, but money's not everything. I had a competitor try to steal one of my people and was gonna pay her $15,000 more supposedly. And she said, no, she's like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not leaving Dutzel's, right? And because, she knows what we do and what we value, and that if there's a conference that she wants to go to in Colorado, like we have a budget and we support everybody and professional growth.
Nailed it.
So culture, yes, you need to pay people, but money does not come down to everything.
Yeah. I think it's like, I did a report in college about this, and financial is like fourth or something on the list of like what is most important to people for a reward system.
Yeah.
It's like appreciation, acknowledgement, something else, and then financial, but everyone says financial. I'm like, it is not number one. It is not. You can't pay someone $50,000 less, but like 15, 20, 15. Do I want to make more money and work more hours, that kind of stuff, or do I want to be somewhere? Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's what the employee wants. I mean, I can give you a couple of examples. I have a 17-year-old kid that's had a job since he was 13. He keeps his job. He's a farmer because my kid plays baseball. He cannot work on the weekends. And the farmer doesn't care. And now he's 17. Now he goes down. The farmer doesn't have to be there. Because the kid knows. And so now he's had this employee for 4 years. He's got employees come and go. He's like, I know this kid's gonna show up all the other days. I know he's probably have a baseball tournament on the
And
weekend.
what a peace of mind. Let's close on that. I've got to be mindful of our time here, but what a peace of mind. If you make the right decisions, if you bring the folks into your right culture, maybe you get to the point you can just give them the keys and turn it over. And I think you have a store that's like that. And you know, that's our goal with staff members, is to get them to the point that they feel empowered, that they have buy-in to our business. And as you're starting your business, and I think we have great examples of this from our panel today, is create that culture right away. As you're starting your business, think about what your business is, think about your mission. Get out there and find those right individuals to help you out. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be fun, but hang in there till you find those right individuals. Then once you have them, develop them, praise them, train them, grow with them, and you should be okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's please. We have about a half hour before our next presentation is going. I'd like to invite everyone back downstairs for communication and time to go over with our panels.
Isaac. Isaac.
Sorry. Thailand thing. You know your stuff.
So that's the main phone number.
I do these a lot. I feel like I'm on those. Sometimes I mean what I'm like, oh, it's not good advice. That's why I put my wallet. So like, what do you think? Free. Yeah, South Korea to South Korea. Yes. Great. Yeah. So I forgot to bring my car. That great. That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah, where you?
So I did stall, but like stayed in here and whatnot. So we didn't get to run around. But then just in highway, my first time having just like a whole experience and just kind of, it was definitely full. We went into bank. And so fully did the city, but then we did. Yeah. And you know, just elephants, jungles, stuff like that. So yeah, yeah, so it was definitely a great thing. Yeah, thank you so much. So, it was with the catering business. That way for a moment.
I know your story. When I started out.
Yeah, so once you're doing a little.
I started getting out. And from another thing. So we know that.
You have one bill, so I love that. So actually,
That's a long story, but I've been younger now with the panel, and I hope that's okay. This will lead you to
Okay, cool.
our.
Cool,
But
cool.
You wanna grab coffee after?
Yeah, I'm gonna go down.
Strategies and processes that
Very
started.
very complicated. Yeah, so yeah.
Well,
the angel was filed. Everything.
Worried about my back of the house processes.
Oh, yeah. So it's at
You are?
This phone call, that's one of my.
So,
And they.
we have $1,000 this month. We actually are going away from doing it.
A lot of them, on space, I did not. I'm like, one week.
No, I learned stuff.
Like.
One thing that,
We rebranded last year and we're trying to get rid of the drop off.
It's literally, I'm bootstrapped literally. Finally.
Drop off. It takes, the $1,000 orders always take this much time, $5,000 orders, and it's,
Yeah, so I went to culinary school. I was at.
it's not like.
So I was spelling.
You do a $500 drop off instead of the time you think all the kids are touching,
I kind of.
it's like, do we need to make the dollar?
Right.
It's like, no, so we've said no orders under 1,000.
Once you do, it's just so rewarding and it's so hard to go back.
Soon not gonna even on it. My salary's is not off right now. So it's like, we're like, okay.
Charles too. That's how we met, yeah. So prior to the operation. So many things. I really about that, yeah. Lots of events you can really. If that.
Right now.
So we're in Midtown, 39th Street.
Okay.
Yeah, finding a commercial kitchen, you still need to. Modify this. How nice, yeah.
But I'm putting my resume.
Yeah. I like it.
People want to
Yep.
interview. So it's about second interview.
Absolutely.
Everywhere. So I'm already searching for.
Yeah, Innovation Center is such a great jump off. You're gonna quickly find that you want your own space. Because it just becomes. There's lots of stuff on extract.
Yeah. I've never seen your.
Yeah, I'll be down, let me go grab coffee.
For an interview.
Yeah, I've got to work under.
Basically, yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, we're, yes, we are.
It's not all.
Yeah. They do all that work. Like, I mean, so. I didn't know they like. Sounds like, it sounds like it's automated.
Yeah.
You put in like.
It's gonna be the time of days. So I know you like started off. If the demographic, nobody was.
List.
Yeah.
Like you say, I'm just saying,
Oh,
I want to.
yeah, they're calling you.
That's what.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
why your competitors are following.
Yeah. Chef Kansas City.
That's my baby, that's the oldest one.
Fit your description. So, I had to
Thanks
be
for having
clear.
us.
And run to pick up some
We got coffee.
back, but, yeah.
You fill out for sure, always that, right? I was struggling on answering.
All that space, turn down.
Yeah, so now they're.
Okay, yeah. The lights are.
But man, if you're ever interested in continuing programming, you see so.
No, I actually did not go to culinary school and not like on the chef side. I mean, I did. But if you're ever looking for like
That's why.
business side of.
That's why I landed on writing.
No.
Way down. Didn't really. I know.
So, yeah, if you ever have, a need for like Cause I wanna come in and see.
I'll actually, oh, yeah.
That is one of the.
Yeah, you gotta bring everything. Or actually.
They don't have anything but I'll- It's a sign, and then I love the smell, because they don't.
It's not.
So like, like the culture.
But I still have all
and
of
the
that.
business side, and like my. It's everything like.
Yeah, so I don't.
I'm the person for that.
That sounds great.
There's other people that.
Strategy why that, bringing it back, we got not for us. Our whole life is it's from
Yeah.
there's so much. Yeah. Thank you. So I got. Yeah.
Kim talked to you about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, we,
How are you?
So.
Yeah.
Single phase, three phase power and.